Jeremy Piven, season 4 of Mr. Selfridge jumped 9 years. What aspects of Mr. Selfridge did that give you a chance to sort of play with and explore?
Well, the entire series has been, first of all, I just want to say I'm at my mother's house. Okay. So I feel like that weird kid that just can't grow up, like those Italian men that can't leave the house until they're 50. So I feel like, Judd Apatow has given us a rewrite here, and suddenly I don't know what's happening. Oh my God.
Oh. And then there was light.
Look, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
You can see my large, shiny forehead even better now.
Yeah.
It's kind of fantastic and slightly tragic. Hold on a second.
Yeah, that's fine.
Very, very smooth. There we go.
Yeah.
Is that better? It could be better or worse. It's kind of flickering. Anyway, each year, the Mr. Selfridge is wildly challenging for many different reasons, and the character has kind of evolved and grown and obviously aged, and now he's much older, and we open on him, and he's wiser, and he's been knocked down yet another peg. He's lost his wife, and he's given up on love, and he's doubled down on all of his energies into his store and his livelihood, and he's gambling more than ever. And we're going to be introduced to the Dolly sisters, which is ultimately his downfall. And we open on him where he's unveiling the Queen of Time, which is what's prominently displayed at Selfridges to this day. And I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but this season, more than any other, is a kind of a festival of just kind of turning point moments that really land and have weight. And one of the things the Brits do better than anyone else is they know how to tell a story and really kind of take their time and not be, they know how to, they give it breath, and they give it the respect that it deserves, and it plays out beautifully. And this season, we've done all that. And then this season, it kind of kicks it up a notch and goes into a kind of a whole other gear, and the stakes are higher, and all the seeds that we planted have come into fruition. And for some reason, I'm just speaking in cliches. And by the way, if you're playing at home, and it could be like a drinking game, every time I say a cliche, you have to drink. I'm sorry. But yeah, cliches are truths that have been told many times over and over again. I couldn't be more proud of this show. And the response I've gotten has been incredible. As you know, in your country and the 165 countries that we've sold it to have really responded well. And in the United States, we're on PBS. And what's so beautifully ironic is that my character, Harry Selfridge, made his name primarily through advertising. He was a guy who was taking out full-page ads in the Daily Mail. No one was doing that. And he figured out how to make a store successful, make shopping successful when it didn't exist, a culture didn't exist. And here we are on a station, PBS, that is funded by the people. They have such incredible taste. The pedigree of shows are the best. And yet they don't have any money to advertise. So it's so ironic that here we are in his own backyard. He's an American and I'm an American, and we have no money to advertise. So it's kind of up to me, and my Twitter followers hate me, and my Instagram people have almost given up. And I just literally posted, I kid you not, I'm like, listen, I think this is it. This is the last time I asked you to watch my show, you guys. And what's great is when people do tune in, I've gotten such great response, and it's all about word of mouth. And this show is, it's taken 4 years to kind of catch on, but I'm really, really proud of it.
Do you have a favorite moment or episode from the final season?
There's so many, and it's a moment that I think people that have watched it and seen it have really responded to, and it's the last episode. It's when we really tell his last chapter, and this all did happen. I mean, it's Shakespearean, and it's a Greek tragedy what happens, and we don't pull any punches, and there is some dramatic license, but for all accounts, this really did happen. It really did go down this way. and I got to kind of come up against it with the directors and the producers, because I think the Brits, one of the things they do better than anyone else is their use of language, but also kind of they incorporate this kind of credo, which involves inhabiting that stiff upper lip mentality, especially for the men. And there's a moment where my character is brought to his knees, and I won't tell you too much, but it was all I could do just to hold it together, because as an actor, you just you hope to use all the givens in a scene and to get out of your own way and be as present as possible, and hope to get lucky, to be honest with you. And you know, the writing was so good, it was all there for me, and so you know, I got lucky and I got emotional, and so it was interesting navigating that, because that's not necessarily their style. And so being a producer, I got to kind of be in the mix, and it was, and by the way, I was told never to talk about this, so I'm going to be punished. I'll go to actors prison. I don't know where that is.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
Oh, no, thanks for sharing, Jerry.
Yeah, I wanted to give you the exclusive. But I think that he deserves that, and the show deserves it, and Americans wear their hearts on their sleeves, and you know, sometimes we're a little too emotionally available or effusive or whatever. And I think that's part of Harry's journey, and I was really proud of the way it all ended up. And so that's kind of the moment that I really loved.
And it's like, yeah, it's interesting. Like, sort of the Brits are probably to a fault not emotional enough, and Americans are probably to a fault too emotional.
I think, yeah, I think, and in many different ways. I think socially it's fascinating because, you know, the Brits, it's incredibly uncouth to celebrate yourself, and then here, for some reason, it seems at times to be the national pastime. At times with certain people, you know, Trump being one of them, and he's, you know, gaining momentum somehow. But over there in the UK, the last thing you'd ever want to do is draw attention to yourself. In fact, they are, you know, no one does self-deprecation better than they do. So I think we can both learn from each other's cultures.
No, I agree. Like, it's like, yeah, the Trump campaign just needs an exercise in self-promotion, like, and self-congratulations. It's insane.
Yeah. He's
anyway.
He's like the grand poobah of loving yourself.
Yeah. With you've talked about sort of that final episode being an emotional one, being also one where Harry gets emotional, but also one as you sort of saying it's a story of a tragedy. Do you think the very ending for Harry is a happy one, a tragic one, a bittersweet one? How do you feel like that the series wraps for Harry?
Well, I don't want to say too much about how it wraps up, because I do think it's bittersweet. And you know, he was a guy who absolutely did it his way always. He was always true to his authentic self, and it wasn't pretty at all, ever. And I've learned a lot playing him, and that's kind of why you do television, you know, because it gives you these multiple episodes over years to explore the trajectory of someone's life and the ripple effect of who and how they influence the other people around them. And so I've loved this entire journey. And you know, there are those that say, God, I'm so sad for the way he ended, and we don't know how he actually was at the end. We know that he lost a great deal of money, and it's not always about money. And like that old saying, you can't take it with you. So maybe he spent it all and had an incredible time doing it. And so and that's another great thing about characters. I love playing characters that you know, live in these dualities where they're not just one thing. You know, Ari Gold, you thought he was a pig, but he was monogamous. Harry Selfridge was the best businessman on the planet, but after work hours, he was a mess. He was a hot mess. And so, you know, you don't judge them, you just embrace them. And so I've had a blast.
The thing I thought was interesting was in the pilot episode of the series, you've got Harry as this character that is so confident and so cocky and so, like such this big sort of like confident force. And in the final, he's a bit more unraveled. He's a little more shaken. You always get a different sense when he's walking through that store in the final than in the pilot, where he's this guy who's got the world in front of him and the world is oyster. In the final, it's sort of he's having to come to terms with his own weakness and his own sort of frailty and flaws. What do you want to comment on that, sort of contrasting from Harry in the pilot to Harry in the final?
Yeah, I mean that's his life taught him a lot, and for him to even be able in 1908 to travel from Chicago to London and spend hundreds of millions of pounds at the turn of the century to build something, that old saying, you build it and they will come. I mean, that was on a whole other level, but to do that and pull it off, takes what the Jews call chutzpah, for real, big brass balls. And they followed his lead. And I knew that I was playing him larger than life. And it was kind of risky the way I played him. And he was taking a victory lap. But I knew that ultimately he would fall from that pedestal and learn life's lessons and gain that wisdom and have that kind of evolution. And that's what was really fun to play about the whole journey. And I really do believe it's the kind of show that you do need to see all 4 seasons. There was a plan, and it works in its totality. It's not the show. We had a pilot, and then, oh my God, we got picked up. Well, let's see. Let's keep going. Oh, well, they're still watching. Got to do some more. Let's see if we can do some more. Whereas this show, I think, got better every year. And then when you watch all 4 seasons, it makes sense. Probably like a miniseries would, or a film, like a 40-hour film, possibly.
What was it like shooting the final scene of the show?
It was very emotional. My mother actually was on set that day, my sister, which was really great, really cool to have them there. And I'm going to be working with my sister next. And my mom was my acting teacher from the time I was about 8 years old. So all in the family, I guess. And it was nice to have them there. And it was emotional, but it was you have to understand, like, I'm over in a foreign country, grinding for 4 years. So it was bittersweet. And I also knew that I felt proud that we had done all that we could possibly do. And that's all you can do. We don't have this big juggernaut behind us. We have no ads. We have no billboards. We have nothing. And that's just, and it sounds like I'm playing the victim right now. It's just the truth. And, you just have to know that, you can go away for 4 years and put, your soul into something. And that's part of growing up, have to know that, like, in the US, in your own backyard, people may, not even have ever heard of it. And it's just another life lesson.
Is there something like how you were like, being in a show like that where you get to, like, it's sort of almost very much about you're going in and you're working, and that's sort of what you're doing, and you're less aware of all the hype that's going on around that than, maybe when you're playing an Ari Gold and, like, everyone's going up to you on the street going, oh, hey, you're Ari Gold.
Yeah, I mean, it's in London, everyone calls me Mr. Selfridge, and it's interesting because, as I said, I'm home in Evanston visiting my mother, and I really think I found my demographic. I think it's here. I think the Midwest, they really embrace PBS, and it's nice because, as actors, we reinvent ourselves all the time, and it's our job to continuously find ways to go in different directions and challenge ourselves. And that's what this was, and that's what my next project will be. And so it's been incredibly fulfilling to connect with people who really were moved by the show. And it's really nice. And believe it or not, there are people. I was stopped. I tweeted it the other day. I was stopped by this woman who called me Mr. Selfridge, and we took a picture together. And her daughter said, "Isn't it so funny that she didn't know what Entourage was?" And that's fun to me. It's really fun, And so the next one, you reinvent yourself again, and that's going to be something that I'm creating myself, and that's what we're doing right now, and I look forward to that experience.
I'm sure there's like some overlap, but probably the Mr. Selfridge demographics and the Entourage demographics aren't exactly the same circles.
Well, you would be surprised, actually, because I think people of all ages gravitate towards costume dramas, because I think technology is moving at the speed of light, and we're all hiding behind Texas and whatnot, and we don't go to each other's homes, and see each other face to face as much anymore. And so that's the thing about costume dramas. It's a simpler time when people were actually communicating with each other.
Right. We lost Jeremy. Are we back, Jeremy?
We're back.
Okay, that's good.
I'm so sorry, man.
No, that's fine. That's totally fine.
I'm in a cave in Kabul, apparently.
Yeah. Yes. Look at you. So Jerry, next question, like you played Harry Gold for 8 years, you played Harry for 4 years, and you're talking about that real grind of playing Harry over those 40 years in London and stuff like that. What's it like playing a character for so long, and what's it like that sort of grind of having to delve into it? And do you miss these characters once you wrap with them, or are you sort of like, oh, that was 8 years, that was 4 years, it's sort of like good to put behind me?
Every job is completely different. Every day is different. Every scene is different. Every take is different. Nothing is easy for me, and there are no throwaway moments. Like if I'm doing like what would seemingly be the easiest moment that you could think of, to me, I'm always, trying to get momentum and get it so that it's right. And so that in itself is very challenging. So I never got bored with it or tired of it or any of those things. It was always incredibly challenging. And maybe from an outsider, Entourage was getting stale or whatever. But for me, like, it's funny, Russell Wilson was who did an American quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks, did a cameo in the movie. And he came to the set and watched me play, and he asked me, he said, when you act, do you act like it's a regular season game, playoffs, or the Super Bowl? And I said, I guess I do it. Yeah, like it's a Super Bowl. And he goes, all the time? And I said, yeah. And he goes, me too. And, it was nice because most actors are frustrated athletes. I know that I always wanted to be a football player. So to even have that moment where I shared anything with a kind of a potential Hall of Famer was amazing. And that's the way I play. And so it was always incredibly challenging and rewarding, and, didn't always work, but that's great too. And so yes, you have to put it behind you. And to be honest, like, I didn't even realize how exhausting playing Ari Gold was, but, when you swing for the fences every take, and you're having an emotional breakdown every day, which is basically what he had, it did take its toll physically, but what a gift that character was. And Harry was a whole different beast. And it was much more specific to navigate with him, and more subtle, and all these other beautiful things, and to play off these incredibly gifted and overqualified British actors was a gift. And so I'm proud of both of them for different reasons. Am I answering your questions, or am I just literally rambling?
You're answering the question. Like, and you said like how it was like the Super Bowl. like acting and how you approach every scene like you're playing in the Super Bowl. When you win an Emmy, is that like winning the Super Bowl and being in the, you know, the after party, like being the locker room after having won the Super Bowl, and a couple of years your mum was there when you won and stuff?
Well, it's interesting because it was never like that for Entourage, because I think people think of the show and they think of Vince on a boat with bikinis, living the dream and drinking champagne, and drama putting his foot in his mouth. And that did absolutely happen while I'm at the office with Lloyd screaming on the phone. So I had a very contained universe, which I loved. So it wasn't like it was almost like two different shows at times. So it was kind of me, you know, it was there wasn't a lot of celebratory victory laps on Entourage. The very few times I got to like take a peek into their world, it was, I mean, it was pretty incredible the way that they put that whole, it was a male fantasy. Let's be honest. That's what that show was. And with Mr. Selfridge, when you're doing an hour drama and you're doing the lead and producing it, there isn't a ton of time to hit the pub. You know, so there wasn't a lot of that. It's a quick turnaround, man. And they're incredibly resourceful. So, you know, you're always playing catch up. And so I guess, you know, you can't work hard and play hard during the season, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Did you like you've talked a bit about how now you're working on the next sort of thing and the next big character. Like, do you want to talk about what like is coming up for you, Jeremy Piven? What's next for you?
I'd like to start setting the trend with actors where we speak in the third person. So I'm going to say, what's next for Jeremy Piven? Well, it's really what's best for Jeremy Piven in terms of what Jeremy Piven wants now. And then you could punch me in the face for speaking that way. I never understood how people could actually do that with a straight face.
Yeah.
You know what? It's so difficult right now because I really want to talk to you about what I have going on. And the only reason I'm not is because I don't want to jinx it. That's it. I just, I'd like to get a little further on in the process, but I'm really excited about it. And I love the process. And, you know, everyone has their job. So I finally now can be a little bit more of a part of the process. And so that is incredibly exciting to me. So, you know, hopefully we'll be sitting with you talking about that soon.
Yes, let's talk about it when you can talk about it.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
Jeremy. What do you miss most about Mr. Selfridge?
The thing about the British actors that I love is that if you were an outsider looking in at the way that they operated on set, you would say, "Oh my God, they're so irresponsible. Why are they having such a good time? What's going on here?" The reality is that they're more prepared than anyone. They're over-prepared and, as I said, overqualified. And yet they're not pretentious and they're having an incredible time. And so the camaraderie, I miss all that. I just miss the people and the energy, all that, you know, the culture, being able to go to the theater, you know, go see something at the West End at the National Theater. I saw so many performances that'll stay with me forever. So I was very, very lucky.
Yeah. And what do you think at the end of the day is the one thing that sort of defines Harry as a character?
I think he was someone who really professionally led by example and cared so much about everyone that he worked with. And I think because of the class system over there in England, especially at the time, people were, I think, enamored with the way that he didn't buy into any of that, because he came from nothing and was working in the stockroom until he, was given the key to the stockroom, and then moved up and then was running the store. So he looked every one of his employees in the eyes and gave them his time and cared about them and wanted them to succeed, truly wanted them to succeed. And he was colorblind. He didn't ban anyone from working with him. I mean, those are things that they're kind of amazing about this guy. And, he died doing what he loved to do. And I don't want to obviously tell you too much about I think because you're overseas, you may have seen the ending.
I have seen the ending.
Okay.
Yes.
But we can't blow it for the rest of the kids. But
yeah.
But all that stuff really happened. That's part of why I did this show, because when you read up on him, this stuff happened, and you can't believe it happened. And so I was always excited about playing that. And I think he was someone who loved his family and was incredibly flawed, but learned from his journey. And you're never too late to learn. So he was a great man who was beautifully flawed, and I was honored to play him.
Can you tell us the one way you are most like Mr. Selfridge or Harry, and the one way you are least like?
I kind of feel like I'm at the therapist right now.
Yeah. I think you said that last year, Jeremy, when we chatted.
Yeah, I think you scared me, man. I'm not going to lie to you. You scared the hell out of me. I think that I think I'm like Harry in the way that because I grew up where I'm sitting right now. I'm sitting here at my mom's house. Not here down the street, but in a truly integrated place called Evanston, where a high school of about 4,000 kids, and you because you grow up surrounded by all these different types of people, you don't understand about racism and hatred and stuff like that. So I was really lucky in that way. And I think that he must have come from a similar background, and he was incredibly ambitious, as am I and have been, and he was a little bit of a wreck, and I'm flawed, and hopefully evolving, never too late, right, as I say. So I think I do share a lot of traits with him. I was over there as an American trying to make my way, as was he. So I didn't have to look too far, really.
Yeah. And how are you different?
What's that?
How are you different to Harry?
I definitely I'm not a risk junkie. That guy just, he couldn't get enough of gambling. And, I'm very Jewish. It would be hard for me to part with hundreds of millions of dollars that I don't even have.
Yeah.
I didn't get a courtesy chuckle out of that.
I didn't know if you were finished, Jeremy. I didn't want it to go to my face over your face.
You don't want to laugh in my face.
Yeah. I once interviewed one of the guys from Game of Thrones, and the camera kept on flipping to my face instead of theirs. There was a bit of a glitch with the Google Hangouts, and there's so many comments on that YouTube video of people going, "Why is it on that guy's face? Why is it?"
Yeah, but you look like you could be on Game of Thrones, so.
Oh, Jeremy, that's so sweet, Jeremy. So nice.
I don't even know if that's a compliment.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I'll take it as one.
You're one breastplate away from being in that frame.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Jared. Thank you, Jeremy. And I hope I haven't scared you too much. I hope you can come back and we can talk about your new thing when
that would be amazing. I look forward to that day.
That will be really cool. I look forward to that day too. And thanks for chatting with us today, and all the best with the Emmys and with sort of whatever that next project and next thing you're working on is. And thanks for giving us all a drinking game to play to the interview.
It's the least I can do, man. Least I could do. Thank you for your patience.
No worries.
Okay.